Hi friends, in this video you will see the story of a fantasy science fiction horror movie. A young astronaut named Riya regains consciousness aboard a space station that has landed on the surface of a planet the pioneer explorers have named Ash. She immediately realizes that she remembers neither her own name nor the circumstances of her arrival. An unexplained scar crosses her forehead. Nightmare visions swarm in her mind, and disembodied voices blame her for what has happened. A sharp alert from the ship's AI warns of an emergency hazard, forcing her to rise, restore the station's power supply, and correct a system failure. As Riya moves through the station, she is horrified to find bloody smears on the walls and floors. Soon, she discovers the body of a fellow crew member, pulls a knife from the corpse, and continues onward. Understanding that all her crewmates are dead, she approaches an open hatch, beyond which stretches a rocky landscape under a sky where flakes resembling ash fall steadily. Above her head, a massive portal of light gapes open, resembling a tunnel. In her mind, a man's name surfaces, Brion. Her breathing becomes labored, and she struggles to return to the station, where the life support system signals a dangerously dropping oxygen level. Riya tries to make sense of what is happening to her, but distorted faces of her former crew flash before her eyes. Then, an abrupt transition to a pristine crew lounge, where young people laugh and play a game. Kevin delivers a pompous speech about prosperity, and Davis proposes a toast to Brion, with 5 helpings of beans prompting general laughter. The crew celebrates, believing that Riya deserves the honor of being the first to step onto the newly discovered celestial body, for it is the first time in years of searching that they have found a planet with an almost breathable atmosphere. In reality, Riya reaches the medical bay, patches a wound on her neck with a bandage, then heads to the shower, trying to piece together her identity and the events that brought her here. Later, she explores the station, finds the ship's log containing records of the atmosphere's condition and the pressure levels in various compartments. Judging by the video entries, she had been working with plants, but Riya has no memory of this. Suddenly, the security system signals movement in Zone 1. Armed with the knife, Riya heads toward the source, attacks a figure in a spacesuit entering through the airlock. The stranger calls her by name, asks her to stop. Seeing her hesitation, he introduces himself as Brion, explains that he arrived from the orbital ship after receiving a distress signal from here. According to him, Clark went mad, attacked the crew, and killed everyone. Riya admits that she remembers only fragments, visions, and the attack by the woman. She has no idea what is happening, who she is, or where she is. Brion activates a medical drone, explaining that their expedition and spacecraft are named 7F. He realizes that Riya's memory has been completely wiped, with even recollections of Earth missing. The woman is placed on a diagnostic table, and the medical bot begins scanning her body, while Brion tells her that the previous 6 similar missions had ended in failure. Now, all of humanity's hopes rest on the 7th attempt, as Earth's resources are almost exhausted. If they succeed, they might be able to call this new world their home. At that moment, the Medbot's instruments penetrate the wound on Riya's head, and seeing her in pain, Brion tries to encourage her. He explains that he was supposed to remain in orbit, serving as an observer for the base to react in time to any danger, which is exactly what he has done. Suddenly, Riya recalls a bright object in the sky, and Brion confirms it is their mothership orbiting above. While the Medbot works on healing Riya's wounds, Brion shows concern for her condition. Riya confesses that she had used a medical patch, which causes her to feel strange sensations, as if it occasionally allows her to recall fragments of the past. Brion reminisces about how, during their journey, the team discussed their motives for joining the space program. Riya had emphasized that it wasn't a sacrifice, but a quest for answers to the questions tormenting the people of Earth. She was dissatisfied with the planet's present, willing to do whatever it took to help humanity. Brion notes that, even with her memory loss, she remains true to herself, suggests she get some rest. But Riya cannot shake the thought of Clark, who might still be alive. If so, her oxygen supply must be running out. She urgently needs to find shelter, as sandstorms here are extremely dangerous. The woman suits up, ventures out in search of her colleague. She remembers seeing a drone she had planned to operate before everything went wrong, hopes to locate it. As she surveys the terrain, Riya considers the possibility that Clark may have been infected by an alien virus, lost her sanity, leading to the tragedy. While Riya drags black bags filled with the remains of astronauts out of the station, Brion advises her to forget what has happened. The station is running on backup power, supporting only basic functions, and even the oxygen supply is nearly depleted. Therefore, they must leave the planet immediately. Everything else, including the causes of the disaster, no longer matters. Their first priority is to return to orbit, a task not so simple, as the shuttle's trajectory must align precisely with the ship's orbit. Concerned about Riya's condition, Brion notices her fatigue. She too feels exhausted, decides to take a short rest. However, her gaze falls on Kevin's lifeless body, and in that moment, she envisions a gruesome, blood-soaked monster. The vision quickly dissolves, and Riya rushes back to the ship, blaming the incident on exhaustion. However, almost every object that could serve as a weapon reminds her of the tragedy that recently unfolded. Riya once again resorts to using a psychedelic patch. Later, the station is engulfed by a sandstorm. As she watches it unfold, Riya realizes that her memories are beginning to return, informs Brion of this development. Suddenly, the artificial intelligence reports a decompression event. Donning their spacesuits, the remaining crew members head out to locate the breach, while alarms blare about critically low oxygen levels. Reaching the emergency compartment, they find signs that someone or something has been there. A strange noise. Riya follows it, discovers a breach, but as she begins sealing it, she sees sees a distorted, grimacing face of Clark. Summoning all her strength, she fights off the nightmarish vision, completes the repair before returning to the living quarters. Brion speculates that Clark might have contracted some pathogen that triggered a mental breakdown, something akin to rabies. However, Riya feels there are inconsistencies in his explanation. She is determined to uncover the truth, find Clark. But Brion reminds her that they have lost 30% of their oxygen reserves, and the next launch window will not open for another 5 hours. When Riya insists, he warns her that any delay could doom them to death by suffocation. All their crew's efforts would be in vain. He admits he doesn't know what happened to Clark, but promises they will get to the bottom of it. Riya retreats to her cabin, rewatching videos of her fallen comrades, remembering Kevin, with whom she shared a deep bond. Closing her eyes, Riya suddenly finds herself standing under an open sky. A drone camera points at her before soaring upward. Looking around, she realizes she is standing in the middle of a blooming meadow, dressed in an elegant gown, adorned with exotic jewelry. Sunlight dances among palm fronds, and not far away stands Kevin. Before him lies some sort of pipe, and when Riya appears inside, she sees a spiraling tunnel pulling her inward. Suddenly, Kevin cries out in pain. Riya sees him aboard the ship, awakens in tears. The woman finds archival footage of the expedition that had been studying this planet. The team deems the conditions acceptable, and though they do not particularly long for Earth, they acknowledge that adjusting to the local landscapes will be difficult. Soon, the astronauts discover the source of the anomalies Brion had detected from orbit. It turns out to be a massive underground tunnel filled with shimmering unknown objects. The astronauts realize these are terraforming installations creating the planet's atmosphere. One of the astronauts attempts to measure the depth of the tunnels, but during the descent, an explosion occurs. Bursts of light and whirlwinds of unknown substance shoot into the sky. Riya, horrified, realizes her comrades are dying. At that moment, Brion enters, and seeing the tablet in her hands, reluctantly admits that the entire mission had gone missing. Riya demands answers. After all this time spent on the brink of madness, he had known that the planet was being prepared for colonization. He claims that his mission was specifically to monitor her, insists that despite her memory loss, she remains fundamentally the same. Therefore, their priority is to escape first, then sort everything out. Unexpectedly, Riya confesses that she killed everyone without understanding why, and that she cannot leave the station. She realizes that the patches help her recover her memories, but Brion admits that he does not trust her current mental state. Their mission is to save humanity. They have discovered technology capable of altering entire planets. This could change the fate of their entire race. Thus, completing the mission must remain their highest priority. In 2 hours and 39 minutes, they must launch no matter what. Riya has no choice but to obey. She begins gathering her belongings when Brion appears, replaces her patch, promising to return before departure. After he leaves, Riya is overwhelmed by her longest memory yet. She sees herself in the laboratory, attacked by a deranged Adi. She tries to defend herself, but he is too strong, his face twisted into a hideous grimace. Grabbing a pair of scissors, Riya frantically stabs the astronaut's body. Suddenly, her strength leaves her, and she collapses onto a bed. Bloody, distorted faces of her crewmates flash before her eyes, and she realizes that the infection was widespread. She calls out for Brion to report her discovery, but receives no response. Searching for him, she moves through the ship, finds Brion's lifeless body on the floor. Horrified, Riya runs away, only to encounter Clark in a spacesuit. Grabbing a blowtorch, she directs the flame at her friend, setting the suit on fire. Clark shoves Riya aside, activates the fire suppression system, then advances on her unharmed. A desperate struggle ensues. Clark locks Riya inside the shower cabin, but Riya grabs a hose, forces it into Clark's helmet, floods it with water. Clark drowns. Riya drags Clark's body to the medical bay, initiates a scan, but the bot detects no injuries beyond lung damage from drowning. At that moment, the AI announces that the launch window to orbit is open. Riya discards another black bag into the wasteland outside, gazes at a sparkling star above, their main ship still awaiting the crew in orbit. Returning to the station, she tries to start the launch sequence. After failing, she applies 2 patches to her neck at once, recalls Brion. The bot scans his body, reports that he died 51 hours ago, something that should be impossible. Suddenly, the security system signals anomalous activity, the detection of an unknown life form. Riya searches the ship again, finds a living Brion, realizing it is the infection animating his body. Unexpectedly, Brion promises to show her something that will make her understand everything. Her memories take her back to the moment when the astronauts return to the station with a newly discovered substance found in one of the compartments. Riya hears her friends discussing the takeover of the station by an unknown life form, which had likely been studying them, waiting for the right moment to strike. When Adi suggests abandoning the station immediately to save the mission, Riya becomes agitated, for they had discovered what millions of astronauts had only dreamed of: extraterrestrial life. Moreover, this discovery could facilitate planetary colonization. Humanity could now inhabit new worlds without fearing hostile atmospheres. Wearing a protective suit, she enters the contaminated compartment, collects a sample. Study reveals it to be a technology composed of self-replicating organisms. Suddenly, the sample escapes its container, attacks Adi. Riya watches in horror as a tentacled creature burrows into his body through his nose. Adi's face contorts, and he tries to kill her. The rest of the team rushes to her cries. Clark tries to drag Riya away while Kevin inspects Adi, who suddenly attacks him. In a desperate struggle, Kevin kills Adi, but the parasite immediately transfers into Kevin's body. Now Kevin attacks Riya. Clark, still in her suit, tries to shield her, but Kevin Kevin savagely beats her until Brion appears, frozen in shock. Kevin turns his attention toward Brion, giving Riya enough time to fit a helmet on Clark, send her toward the escape pod. Unexpectedly, Kevin speaks to Riya, and she pleads for forgiveness for what she is about to do. Watching Kevin mutate before her, she plunges a knife into his chest. The creature leaves his body, enters Riya through the wound on her temple. Riya feels the presence of an alien mind within her. The AI announces parasite activity. A red alien organism pulses inside her head. Riya realizes she can hear its voice. It claims the planet as its own, vows not to allow humanity to take it. They intend to make Riya part of their legion. She refuses to join the alien collective, tears off her patches, rushes to the medical bay. After an examination, the parasite is located inside her head, and Riya agrees to have it removed. During the procedure, her heart stops, but the medical robot revives her, eliminating the parasite. Suddenly, Brion mutates. Tentacles sprouting from his head, lunges at her. Riya stabs him with a knife, but the creature keeps attacking. She grabs the blowtorch, incinerates him. The station erupts into flames. Clad in a protective suit, Riya evacuates the burning vessel. Reaching the escape pod, she activates the engines, sets course for the main ship. In this way, this fantasy film ends here. And if you like this movie, then please like this video and subscribe to the channel.